Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, US billionaire and ex-owner Elon Musk interviews US presidential candidate Donald Trump. A cyber attack delays its start. US government says it's investigating a claim that Iran hacked Trump's campaign. Leaders of the US, France, Germany, Italy and the UK call for a Gaza ceasefire deal as soon as possible, express support for Israel against any Iranian threat. UN Chief Antonio Guterres urges Bangladesh's interim government to make every effort to be inclusive, including by taking into account the voices of minority communities. And Indians join a campaign to hoist the national flag at their home ahead of the country's Independence Day. In a dramatic live interview on X with its owner Elon Musk, US presidential candidate Donald Trump recounted the attempt on his life and pledged the largest deportation in US history. Trump criticized Vice President Kamala Harris and labeled her as fake, blaming her for the influx of illegal migrants. Trump also launched a series of attacks on his opponent over immigration, inflation and law and order.
Here's what's happening. Crime all over the world is down. And wait till you see the numbers that we have. You know, this is migrant crime. This is crime that's going to be. Yeah. And I saw it today in New York where somebody was knifed with raped the girlfriend of a man that stood there watching in New York in one of the shelters and started pulling out the knives, and bad things happened today. But this is happening every day. But these are rough people. Yeah. These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice people.
Trump launched a scathing attack on President Joe Biden and blamed him for the Ukraine conflict. Trump argued that his strong relationship with Russia's President Vladimir Putin could have prevented the conflict. The interview faced a technical glitch and began after a long delay of more than 40 minutes. And reacting to the Trump interview, US Vice President Kamala Harris released an official statement saying that Trump's entire campaign is in service of people like Elon Musk and himself, and those who are self-obsessed with rich guys will sell out the middle class. The US Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's interview with billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk was delayed due to technical problems that kept many users from accessing the live stream. Musk said that massive cyber attack on X led to the issue. The internet can have bad players, and sometimes those bad players find different ways to harass or manipulate others. A denial of service or distributed denial of service attack is one of those ways. These attacks may render a device temporarily unable to connect to the internet. It's rare for two rival political parties to agree on an issue and even use it in their election campaign. But no tax on tips is one such issue where two rival candidates in the US echo a similar sentiment, though they criticize each other to take credit for it. Akhilesh Suman tells you why this issue resonates so much with the candidates and its implications.
In elections, candidates often compete for the support of large communities that can translate into significant votes. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, around 4.7 million people were employed in the food and beverage serving industry as of 2023. Including other sectors like hospitality, delivery services and personal care, the number of employees receiving tips could be estimated at over 6 million. Also add their families, including spouses, the numbers could swell to more than 12 million. a substantial voter base spread across the United States. Perhaps the numbers prompted Donald Trump to announce his commitment for a no tax on tips policy.
When I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
Typically in the United States, the standard tip amount is 18 to 25% of the bill. Employees earning $20 or more in tips per month are required to report the amount to their employer. The employer then withholds the appropriate taxes from their paycheck and transfers them to the government. Not reporting a tip is a crime in the United States. Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris has also expressed support for the no tax on tips policy, although without directly acknowledging Trump's role in raising the issue.
It is my promise to everyone here, when I am president, we will continue our fight for working families of America. Including to raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Trump was rather swift to accuse Harris of copying his agenda. The White House has also weighed in on Tuesday with a statement affirming that President Joe Biden supports eliminating taxes on tips as well.
This is something that the president supports. He supports eliminating taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers while also raising minimum wage.
It remains to be seen whether the move translates into vote for any or both the candidates. But the policy is likely to provide financial relief to many families. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
And Alex Caddy joins us from Brussels for more. Alex, any EU reaction yet to Trump's interview with Musk?
Well, certainly the main reaction here in Brussels hasn't been to the content of the interview itself, but mostly to the interaction between Thierry Breton. He's the Internal Markets Commissioner of the European Commission. That building behind me, he's in charge of tech and social media regulation. He sent a letter to Elon Musk ahead of the interview, reminding him of his legal obligations under EU law, that is, to mitigate against hate speech, against the incitement to violence and some disinformation, whilst also protecting freedom of expression and freedom of information. So certainly that was a warning, a shot across the bow by Thierry Breton towards Elon Musk, who responded with a rather expletive-filled meme on Twitter, the contents of which I will not share here, but certainly quite an unexpected response from Elon Musk, being reminded of his legal obligations. Now, when it comes to the actual content of the interview, Mr. Musk asked the former President Donald Trump about censorship in the European Union. Donald Trump did not take the bait. He said that the EU was bad when it came to its trade deficit with the United States, but did not go into online and content regulation. Now, crucially, when it comes to Thierry Breton's warning, he was talking about the context of far-right riots in the United States. So what will have been seen perhaps as a small victory here in Brussels is the fact that those were not mentioned at all in that 2-hour interview.
That said, Alex, Europe, much like the US, is faced with the problem of migration. Do you think Trump's promise of carrying out the largest deportation in US history will resonate with Europe? Will it have any takers in Brussels?
Well, certainly that focus on immigration, that issue of immigration is something that is front and center in the minds of politicians here in Brussels, but also across the European Union. We saw that in the last European elections with the surge of far-right parties, and with Ursula von der Leyen, the new Commission President, putting a much bigger focus on tackling migration. But I suspect the similarities will probably end there. Donald Trump's solutions for mass migration, mass deportation that he suggested, won't fly in Brussels, mostly because of the coalitions of progressive parties in the European Parliament, in the German government. They will not be amenable to those kinds of broad-stroke, blunt solutions. But certainly some other EU countries, Italy, Hungary, Austria and others, will be much more open to much stricter controls on migration here in Europe.
Alex, we'll leave it there. Thank you, appreciate it. Alex Caddy reporting there from Brussels. Moving on, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has welcomed efforts of Bangladesh's interim government to restore calm. However, the UN chief also urged the Bangladesh interim government to consider the voices of minorities and respect human rights as it prepares for parliamentary elections. In a statement issued by Farhan Haq, deputy spokesperson for the Secretary General, Guterres said he stands in full solidarity with the people of Bangladesh. He urged Bangladesh's interim government, led by 84-year-old Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus, to continue to make every effort in the coming weeks to be inclusive, including by taking into account the voices of women, youth and people across the country, as well as that of minority and indigenous communities as the country moves towards parliamentary elections. Bangladesh Foreign Affairs Advisor Mohammad Tawheed Hussain reiterated on Monday that Sheikh Hasina's extended stay in India will not negatively impact the bilateral ties between Bangladesh and India. The comments came after Hussain briefed diplomats in Dhaka. He pointed out that India has its interests in Bangladesh just as Dhaka has its interests in New Delhi. Meanwhile, Home Affairs Advisor Brigadier General retired M. Sakhawat Hussain urged political parties to take steps to prevent scattered violence, including incidents like attacks on minority communities. The US has denied any role in ousting Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who recently quit her position and fled the South Asian nation. A report in an Indian English daily had cited Hasina as accusing the US of playing a role in ousting her because it wanted control over Bangladesh's St. Martin's Island in the Bay of Bengal. The newspaper said Hasina had conveyed that message to it through her close associates. While Hasina's son Sajib Wazid, in a post on X on Sunday, said that she never made any such statement. For its part, White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre called the allegations of US interference, quote-unquote, simply false.
Had no involvement at all. Any reports or rumors that the United States government was involved in these events is simply false. That is not true. This is a choice for and by the Bangladeshi people. We believe that the Bangladeshi people should determine the future of the Bangladeshi government, and that's where we stand. Any allegations, certainly we will continue to say, and I have said here, is simply untrue.
Still to come on DD India News Hour. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer speaks to Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian, urges him not to attack Israel. And Ukraine claims to control 1,000 square kilometers of Russian territory. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. US President Joe Biden spoke on Monday to the leaders of France, Germany, Italy and the UK to discuss de-escalating tensions in West Asia and a ceasefire in Gaza. In a joint statement released on Monday, the leaders of all 5 countries said they endorsed a call from the US, Qatar and Egypt for renewal of talks for concluding a Gaza ceasefire deal as soon as possible. Monday's joint statement stressed that there is no further time to lose. It also expressed support for Israel against any Iranian threat while urging distribution and delivery of aid to Gaza. The leaders also called on Iran to stand down its ongoing threats of a military attack against Israel and discuss the serious consequences for regional security should such an attack take place. But Iran has dismissed Europe's call for restraint amid conflict in West Asia, responding to calls from France, Germany and the UK that Iran should exercise restraint with regards to Israel. Iran's foreign ministry said on Tuesday that the calls lack political logic and contradict principles of international law. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer spoke with Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian on Monday as part of de-escalation of efforts to ease tensions in West Asia. Pictures shared online by 10 Downing Street showed Starmer on the phone with a caption saying that he was talking to Pezeshkian. Starmer asked Pezeshkian to refrain from attacking Israel and saying that war was not in anyone's interests. Israel has said that it is monitoring developments in Iran regarding a threatened strike against it. Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said the military has not issued new safety guidelines for the public, but if needed, would update the home front about any changes as quickly as possible.
We are following what is going on specifically with Iran. With all our capabilities, we are also not following alone. We are following with the United States and other partners. We take seriously the statements and remarks by our enemies, and therefore we are at peak preparedness for attack and defense, and we will act according to the instructions of the political level.
The U.S. government on Monday said it expects Gaza peace talks to move forward as planned. State Department Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel said the department fully expects talks to continue and that it would continue to work with the parties involved, adding that agreement was still possible.
So I'm aware of those comments from Hamas, and we fully expect talks to move forward as they should. All negotiators should return to the table and bring this deal to conclusion. We believe that there has been headway made, but we need to finalize this agreement, continue to close and bridge some gaps. But we believe that an agreement is possible, and that's something that we're going to continue to work between the parties.
According to sources, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is scheduled to travel to West Asia on Tuesday amid high tensions in the region. As per reports, Blinken has stops planned in Qatar, Egypt and Israel.
This is something we were not aware of or involved in. It's very hard to speculate, and I've learned over many years never to speculate on the impact one event may have on something else. So I can't tell you what this means. I can tell you that the imperative of getting a ceasefire, the importance that that has for everyone remains. And we will continue to labor at that for as long as it takes to get there.
And Sarah Coates joins us from Tel Aviv. Sarah, the leaders of France, Germany, Italy and the UK have all endorsed a call from the US, Qatar and Egypt to clinch a Gaza ceasefire deal as soon as possible. But as someone who's been covering developments from Israel for many months now, do you think the parties to the dispute, Israel on the one hand and the Hamas on the other, are up for it?
Hello there. Well, that remains to be seen, and this is really why we are seeing just such a massive diplomatic push trying to get this over the line after months and months of negotiations. Now, you mentioned it there, what we did hear from the US State Department, that it expects these talks to move forward as planned, saying that an agreement is still possible. Now, at this hour, there has been no confirmation yet from Hamas on whether it will actually attend this summit on Thursday. But what the group has said is that these talks must be based on where they were 6 weeks ago, with Hamas saying it doesn't want to enter into a fresh round of negotiations. Now, according to these mediators, they will be presenting a final bridging proposal. It does remain, though, at this hour also unclear as to the stance of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He is under a lot of pressure, not just from the international community to actually come to a deal with Hamas, but also under a lot of pressure from the far right-wing elements of his government, specifically Itamar Ben-Gvir. He's the National Security Minister, and he has been threatening time and time again to walk away from the coalition. He's one of the ones that keeps Benjamin Netanyahu in power, and he says if Netanyahu basically makes what he says is an irresponsible deal, that he will walk away, collapse the coalition, and there will be no deal to get these remaining hostages out. So certainly at a very crucial time. And this, of course, is why we are hearing that the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken could be arriving in the Middle East as early as this evening.
Indeed. Now, that said, Sarah, the joint statement by the US and 4 of its European allies also expressed support for Israel against any Iranian threat. The question is, will it sit well with Iran?
We do actually have a statement from the Iranian Foreign Ministry on this. It says it calls for restraint, lack political logic and contradict principles of international law. Now, we do need to remember here that Tehran is blaming Israel for the assassination of the head of Hamas's Politburo, Ismail Haniyeh, in Tehran, despite no admission of guilt by the Israeli government. So certainly an extremely tense time here in the region. This is, of course, why the United States has been moving more military hardware to the area. And we do have a little more from the Foreign Ministry spokesperson saying that Tehran is determined to deter Israel, calling on Paris, London and Berlin to once and for all stand up against the war in Gaza and, quote, the warmongering of Israel. And this comes amid other reports in Hebrew media coming out just a few hours ago that Israel will actually strike Iran even if it strikes Israel and causes no civilian casualties. So certainly a very worrying time in the Middle East.
Indeed. Sarah, thank you very much. Sarah Coates reporting there from Tel Aviv. And staying with this news, the US has deployed a guided missile submarine to West Asia in anticipation of an Iranian attack against Israel. Iranian officials have warned of reprisal attacks to punish Israel following the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. Tensions in West Asia have been simmering now since the killing, with many fearing an all-out war in the region. DD India's Jody Jacobs has more from New York City.
As tensions continue to grow in the Middle East, the U.S. has now sent a guided missile submarine to the region. In a statement over the weekend, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that the U.S. has sent the USS Georgia, a guided missile submarine, to the area, and also ordered the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is carrying fighter jets, to accelerate its journey there. This ship, we are told, was already on its way to replace another U.S. ship in the area. This move from the United States comes in response to fears of a wider regional conflict after the recent assassination of senior Hezbollah and Hamas leaders. Israel has been on tenterhooks for weeks now to see what Iran's next move will be. It's still unclear what Iran could be planning. However, Tehran blames Israel for the assassination of the senior Hamas leader and have vowed to punish it. The rising tensions also have those here at the United Nations concerned. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres reiterating his urgent appeal for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and the unconditional release of all hostages. He believes that with a ceasefire in place, calm can be restored in the region. At the same time, an urgent UN Security Council meeting is being convened on Tuesday at the request of Algeria. The Security Council, the UN organ tasked with maintaining global peace and security, has been unable to bring an end to the tensions and the fighting there, with many criticizing, especially the United States, of continuously shielding its ally Israel. Jody Jacobs in New York, reporting for DD India.
From one conflict to another. In the latest on Ukraine and Russia, Kiev pounded 2 Russian regions with drones on Tuesday. Ukraine's top commander has said that Kiev's forces control 1,000 square kilometers of Russian territory as its ground forces try to intensify through defensive lines. Russia's defense ministry said its air defense units destroyed 12 drones over the Kursk region, 1 over the Belgorod region and another over Voronezh. In retaliation, Russian drones attacked energy infrastructure in Ukraine's Chernihiv region overnight. In other news, one person was killed and thousands have been evacuated as Greece battled its worst wildfire of the year that continues to burn on the outskirts of the country's capital, Athens, on Tuesday. The flames of fire have reached 80 feet, leading to a red alert issued in the region. People in Athens were seen wearing masks as smoke affected air quality. Homes, hospitals and other properties in the affected area have been damaged severely and aircraft are working to extinguish the fire. A team of firefighters and police officers along with citizens are trying their best to put out the fire as strong winds lead to rapid spread of the wildfire. This has led to an additional rise in temperatures in Greece and nearby regions. Greece had experienced the hottest months on record in June and July. A disturbance located about 475 kilometers east-southeast of Antigua has become Tropical Storm Ernesto, this according to the U.S. National Hurricane Center. The tropical storm is expected to bring tropical storm force winds and heavy rains to portions of the Leeward Islands beginning late tonight. Tropical Storm Ernesto becomes the fifth named storm of the 2024 season. Ernesto is forecast to move over the Leeward Islands overnight before nearing Puerto Rico. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar took part in an event showcasing the contributions of the Indian diaspora in the US. The event was organized in New Delhi on Tuesday. It focused on Indian diaspora's impact across 5 key dimensions: economic, scientific, social, cultural and civic. At the event, the minister underlined that Indian diaspora can make valuable contribution in the digital connect between the two nations.
I think where the diaspora actually can make a very valuable contribution as we are all moving into a more digital age is really that bond which I see actually as the increasingly central bond between India and the United States, the digital connect between that. To the extent in various areas they can contribute to the strengthening of that.
The 11th convocation of the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Bhopal, held on Tuesday. The program was attended by India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. During the event, a total of 442 students of the institute were awarded integrated postgraduate, undergraduate, postgraduate and PhD degrees and medals. Addressing the students on the occasion, the minister stressed that youth skills and knowledge are important for sustainable development of India.
Transition from fossil fuel to renewable energy, if it has to be sustainable and if it has to be 24/7, we need your skills. We need that knowledge that you have got from this esteemed institution to make sure that India has the lead advantage, so that your mind actively engages in coming up with innovative ways in which India's progress towards a Vikasit Bharat, that is 2047, can be enabled by the kind of very quick and speedy solutions that you may offer for us to move and transition into a better country.
Doctors across India went on a nationwide protest from Tuesday in protest against the sexual assault and murder of a female doctor at a Kolkata medical hospital on the 9th of August. Demanding justice, doctors from the Indian states including Maharashtra, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Chandigarh, Rajasthan, Gujarat and some faculty associations joined the protest. Meanwhile, a 2-member team of the National Commission for Women arrived in Kolkata on Monday and took cognizance of the matter. The Indian Medical Association wrote a letter to the country's Health Minister J.P. Nadda demanding impartial investigation and speedy trial. The association also demanded detailed investigation into the circumstances of the crime and immediate steps to improve the safety of doctors, especially women, at the workplace. The association has given a 2-day ultimatum to the state government demanding that the investigation into the institution be conducted by a central agency and that the victim's family be compensated. Still to come on DD India News Hour. An expert take on Bangladesh situation and attacks on Hindus. And India renews call for UN Security Council reform.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Now, 4 Bangladeshi nationals have been detained by the Tripura police on Monday after border security forces foiled an attempt of infiltration by a group of 12 to 15 Bangladeshis in the northeastern state of India. A group of 12 to 15 nationals from across the border were trying to enter India. 10 to 11,000 BSF troops have been guarding the India-Bangladesh border passing through the northeastern state of Tripura. And Kunal Shinde joins us from Tripura for more on this developing story. Kunal, how's the security situation in Tripura in the wake of turbulent situation across the border in Bangladesh?
Ramesh, see, given the 856-kilometer long border with Tripura, with Bangladesh, of Tripura, so there has always been, the government of India has always been emphasizing, and there has always been a thrust on the security and not to leave any loopholes when it comes to border security. So accordingly, whatever actions have taken place yesterday, this has been happening regularly. Like attempts are made by the Bangladeshis to infiltrate into the Indian territory, because it is such a long and huge border, even though Tripura is a very tiny state, but still the attempts are made by the Bangladeshis, and accordingly the BSF and the local police do ensure that the illegal infiltration or infiltration for that matter never take place, do not take place. So yesterday also the detention of 4 Bangladeshi nationals in Nandan Nagar locality of Agartala, they were caught when police were tipped off that around a group of 4 people have entered into Agartala, and accordingly after that there also reports came that around 12 to 15 Bangladeshis, they were trying to infiltrate into the Indian territory from Paharmura BOP, that is in Khowai district. So because of the poor visibility due to inclement weather, these Bangladeshi nationals were trying to infiltrate, and they were the alert BSF troops, they thwarted their attempt by firing a pump action gun. So this also highlights the security scenario and how alert the BSF is. Like in past also we have seen, like since last one and a half week, because of the turbulent situation in Bangladesh, all eyes are on the BSF is on high alert, and focus is always there on as to whether the how is the security scenario.
Absolutely.
But BSF and the local police along with the Assam Rifles have been taking all the necessary measures to ensure that no infiltration takes place in the Indian territory from Tripura. Ramesh?
Also, Kunal, is trade and commerce taking place across the border between Bangladesh and Tripura?
See, since last one and a half week, as we know that trade has been affected because of the volatile situation in Bangladesh. But nevertheless, India always has this policy of neighborhood first policy, and accordingly, the government of India, as well as in Tripura, as we have seen, that trade is going on, but in a very slow manner. Also, the power supply which is provided to the Bangladesh from here, there is a power station called Palatana. So from here, around 60 to 90 megawatts of power is supplied to Bangladesh, even when the Sheikh Hasina government was toppled. So there has not been any difference when it comes to trade. Also, the border hut, if we talk about border hut in Sabroom district, where this particular marketplace is there, where traders from Bangladesh as well as those from India, they assemble there and they sell their products. So today also the border hut day is there, and accordingly the trade is taking place. It is on, and yes.
Right, we leave there Kunal Shinde reporting there from Tripura on developments in Bangladesh and its impact on northeastern state of Tripura in India. And joining me now, Mr. Sanjay Bhattacharya to talk about developments in Bangladesh. Mr. Bhattacharya is a former Indian ambassador to Switzerland, Turkey and Egypt. Ambassador, welcome to DD India News Hour. First off, is law and order returning to Bangladesh? What is your assessment?
I think this will be a slow process, because what we saw, particularly after Sheikh Hasina left Dhaka, the new surge of violence that came about was one in which many of the security forces did not play a dominant role in trying to quell them at the outset. As a result, many of these forces, mainly supported by fundamentalist forces and not really those of the students, gained the upper hand. And this is something that has been more widespread in the last few days, particularly even after Yunus took over as the chief advisor. So I think although Yunus is trying valiantly to try and curb the situation, this is going to be an uphill task.
Ambassador, for the benefit of viewers joining us from around the world, who is attacking the minorities in general and Hindus in particular, and why?
Well, the history of that part of the world is well known. We've had communal clashes in 1946-47 at the time of independence. Even when it was East Pakistan, there were communal clashes. In 71, when Bangladesh was liberated, there were communal clashes. And even after that, there were several instances in which particular communities, minorities were attacked. The ones behind these were essentially the fundamentalist Jamaat and many of its affiliates. They are the ones who had always called for an Islamic state, for Islam to be at the fore, and they did not like the presence of a secular community, which is what Bangladesh had sought to be. So they are the ones who are behind it. I would not assign any blame on communities like that of the students.
Fair enough. The chief advisor, Dr. Muhammad Yunus, is likely to meet with the Hindu community sometime today, we are told. Do you think it will calm fears?
I think it will be an important meeting. As you would recall, Prime Minister in his message to Muhammad Yunus had mentioned about the need to maintain calm and protect the minorities. Most recently, the United Nations Secretary General also referred to it in his statement yesterday, that there was need to look after the minorities. And since this is a situation which has gone a little out of control, the minorities actually had to come out on the streets and stage a protest saying Bangladesh is their motherland and they intend to stay there. It becomes imperative on the state to take care of its citizens. So the initiative of Yunus to speak with the Hindu community and the Hindu students, I think, is a good step. But what we do also hope is that those who are behind these instances and who are in some way affiliated with the elements that are also part of the establishment today, would be taken to task so that they realize that the rule of order, the rule of law must prevail, and that minorities should not be affected. The eyes of the world are on Bangladesh today, and if it fails this test, it would be miserable.
Indeed, as you say, the eyes of the world are on Bangladesh. But what should India do, Ambassador, if things don't improve?
Well, I think we should allow Bangladesh, and it has shown itself to be a mature democracy, particularly over the last couple of decades. We've seen how democracy has flourished, the economy has done well. So we should have reason to believe that the people of Bangladesh and its administration, even though it's an interim administration at present, will deal with the situation effectively. And we could lend our support to the administration to take care of the problems that it has. I don't think this should be seen as India's problem. It is Bangladesh's problem, but we should always, because Bangladesh is our closest neighbor, we should always extend a helping hand if it so needs.
Okay, Bangladesh Foreign Affairs Advisor says Sheikh Hasina's stay in India will not impact the bilateral ties. Will you take him at face value?
I would say that Sheikh Hasina had to leave her homeland under a rather adverse situation, and it is not usual for a prime minister to have to leave one's country. But that was the situation over there. I think if they do not prepare the country sufficiently for her to return, she will have to stay overseas. And where she stays overseas will partly be her choice and partly the acceptance of the country that she is in. So I think at this point of time, the Bangladesh administration should really focus on improving the situation so that the political leaders who've had to leave are confident that the environment is safe enough for them to return. And I think Bangladesh should work towards that.
Ambassador Bhattacharya, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts and insights with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Moving on, India's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, R. Ravindra, delivered a statement on behalf of the G4 countries, namely Brazil, Germany, Japan and India, at a UN Security Council high-level debate on maintenance of international peace and security. The diplomat said that the G4 is convinced that Africa's representation in the permanent and non-permanent categories will be an indispensable part of UNSC reform for a more representative and effective council.
For the G4, the primary reason for the underperformance of this critical institution remains the non-representation of Africa, Latin America and the Caribbean, and the under-representation of Asia Pacific in the permanent category. As such, we are convinced that African representation in both permanent and non-permanent category will be an indispensable part of UNSC reform for a more representative and effective council. We, as G4, continue to support fully these legitimate demands and aspirations from the people of Africa.
The 6th India-Australia Maritime Security Dialogue was held on Monday in Canberra. The two sides conferred on ways to sustain a safe and secure maritime environment conducive for inclusive growth and global well-being. They exchanged views in various arenas, including maritime security environment in the Indo-Pacific, maritime domain awareness, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief coordination, regional and multilateral engagements, and sustainable use of marine resources. As destruction in the Indian state of Himachal Pradesh continues because of heavy rains there, more than 100 people have been killed in rain-related incidents in the state. Landslides and flash floods triggered by heavy rains since Sunday have led to the closure of 338 roads, including 4 national highways. The Regional Meteorological Department has issued a yellow alert for heavy rain in isolated parts of the state till Saturday, and also warned of a low to moderate flash flood risk in parts of Chamba, Kinnaur, Sirmaur and Shimla districts till Tuesday. And now take a look at what else is making news in India. India's Defence Research and Development Organization is showcasing 40 indigenously developed advanced systems and technologies at the International Defence Aviation Exposition IDAX 2024 at Sulur in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. The expo is being attended by the Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary, and the Governor of the state, R.N. Ravi. India's Defence Research and Development Organization successfully test-fired the Made in India man-portable anti-tank guided missile at a field firing range in Rajasthan's Jaisalmer recently. The MP-80GM is a portable shoulder-launched missile system designed to neutralize enemy tanks and armored vehicles. In a major breakthrough, the police of the Jammu and Kashmir has arrested 9 terror associates for providing logistical support to Pakistani terrorists killed during the Gando encounter after their infiltration from international border and then guiding them to the upper reaches of Udhampur, Kathua and Doda districts. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indians join a campaign to hoist the national flag at their home ahead of the country's Independence Day.
We have with us a very special guest, Olympic bronze medalist Swapnil Kusale. When we talk about you and your journey from TTE to an Olympic bronze medalist,
journey is quite long and lots of challenges I faced, but it's a good journey for me till now, so I'm happy.
You got a call from Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
He called and say, Namaskar Bhau, kaise aap, like in Marathi language, so it was good to hear that.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A recent seismological study has revealed that a vast reservoir of liquid water may be hidden deep beneath the surface of Mars, possibly holding enough to cover the entire planet in a global ocean. This groundbreaking finding, based on data from NASA's InSight lander, suggests that the Martian subsurface might offer conditions conducive to microbial life either in the past or present. The study suggests that much of the water that had been on the Martian surface did not escape into space, but rather filtered down into the crust. The Har Ghar Tiranga is a campaign celebrated across the nation from the 9th to 15th of August this year to encourage people to hoist flags in their premises. A bike rally by members of parliament was organized in New Delhi. It was flagged by the Vice President of India.
The Har Ghar Tiranga campaign, into its third year, saw a bike rally by members of parliament in the national capital in the wee hours of the morning. The Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankar, flagged off the rally and encouraged the spirit of patriotism as India gets ready to celebrate the 78th Independence Day.
मैं सिर्फ एक तिरंगा मार्च को हरी झंडी नहीं दिखा रहा हूं, यह हमारे आजादी की शताब्दी पर विकसित भारत के लिए मैराथन मार्च का हिस्सा है। इसकी शुरुआत कर रहा हूं। आने वाले 15 अगस्त पर हर घर तिरंगा लहराए, शान से लहराए, इस संकल्प के साथ लहराए कि इसकी आन बान शान में बढ़ोतरी होती रहेगी, किसी भी हालत में झंडा ऊंचा रहे हमारा।
After being flagged off from Bharat Mandapam, the rally navigated the India Gate Circle to culminate at Major Dhyan Chand Stadium. Holding the tricolor afloat, the participants drove on the streets of the national capital led by union ministers, member of parliament, non-government organizations, volunteers, students and general public.
हजारों लोगों ने एक साथ तिरंगा यात्रा निकाल करके अपने संकल्प को सुदृढ़ करते हुए एक संदेश दिया आप देख सकते हैं किस तरह से जहाँ तक दिखाई दे रहा है वहाँ तिरंगा लहरा है।
बहुत जोरदार का माहौल है। गांव-गांव, शहर-शहर, गली-गली, हर जगह तिरंगा लेकर के लोग पैदल चल रहे हैं, गाड़ी में और बाइक में, अलग-अलग तरीके से तिरंगे को लेकर के अपने गांव में मैंने फोटो भी देखा है। पूरा देश भर में माहौल है और बहुत ही उत्साहित है।
Opposition parties decided to stay away from this event yet again.
This is not a political program. This is a program for the whole country together, and there is no political flag, there is no political slogan that is here. Then where comes the politicalness in this program? So this is the opposition trying to politicalize everything.
The Har Ghar Tiranga campaign has broken records in the previous two chapters, with the first clocking 6 crore selfies, while the second hit 10 crore selfie buttons. The bike rally embodied the spirit of the campaign and paid tribute to the sacrifices of the nation's freedom fighters and created an excitement amongst the people to be part of the celebrations as India celebrates another Independence Day on the 15th of August this year. Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
India will celebrate its 78th Independence Day on 15th August. As part of the Har Ghar Tiranga Abhiyan, Agriculture Minister Kanwarpal Gujjar flagged off a marathon at Ambala in Haryana. People were urged to plant trees under the Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam program. Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Mohan Yadav flagged off a Tiranga Yatra on Monday in Bhopal. The Telangana BJP Mahila Morcha organized a scooty rally in Hyderabad. BJP State Mahila Morcha President Shilpa Reddy highlighted that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, during the 112th edition of his Mann Ki Baat program in July, called for the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign to be celebrated as a national festival. And now to all the news from the world of sport. Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat's fate hangs in balance as the nation awaits joint silver appeal verdict. Now, Vinesh, who secured her place in a final of women's 50-kilogram freestyle bout, was unexpectedly disqualified from competing because of her being overweight in the final weigh-in. The heartbroken wrestler filed an appeal with the Court of Arbitration for Sport on Wednesday, requesting a joint silver medal. The CAS deferred the decision to 13th August, which the nation now eagerly awaits. Indian hockey heroes were greeted with a rousing reception at the Delhi airport after their remarkable bronze medal victory at the 2024 Paris Olympics. After winning their second consecutive bronze, the Indian hockey team was greeted with garlands and goals at the Delhi airport. Huge crowds gathered at the airport to catch a glimpse of the medalists and give them a warm welcome. Earlier on Saturday, the first set of players had arrived and the rest, like PR Srijesh, Abhishek and Sanjay, landed today in the capital. Five-time Olympic medalist Tom Daley announced retirement from diving. The 30-year-old bagged a silver medal in Paris alongside Noah Williams. After this win, Daley holds at least one medal of every color. The 30-year-old diver hung up his boots when he won a gold medal alongside Matty Lee in the synchronized 10-meter platform. However, he decided to return and participate in Paris so that his kids could see him compete. A Serbian team received a hero's welcome at Belgrade City Hall on Monday as they returned from the Paris 2024 Olympics. Serbians took 5 medals home from Paris, with Novak Djokovic winning gold in the men's singles tennis tournament. Djokovic became only the 5th player to win all 4 singles Grand Slams and the Olympic title during his career. Serbia also won gold in men's water polo and mixed 10 meters air pistol team shooting, as well as a silver in women's taekwondo. Japan's western prefecture of Tokushima is hosting the country's leading summer dance festivals Ava Odori under full precautions against earthquakes. The 5-day-long festival's main highlight was the So Odori performance held on Monday evening. The performance involved about 1,500 dancers in 15 prominent groups. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hub. You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen now to download it. And let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website, ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.